Welcome to Spectrum News at 12. I am Rachel David White, coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Muhammadu Buhari to commission Owerri Olu and Owerri Okigwe roads upon completion. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo receives ICC prosecutor, commends proposed reforms at International Court. Plus, Russia gives new deadline to Ukrainian troops in Mariupol. Details of these stories and more in a moment. Causing breakdown of law and order in the country, and assured that no individual or group will be allowed to destabilize Nigeria. Buhari, who made the statement at an iftar dinner with state governors, ministers and heads of government agencies, expressed the confidence that in spite of the current security challenges in the country, will succeed. On the forthcoming general election, voters' card will make it impossible for anyone to claim millions of votes again in the country. Away from that, presidency and the office of a secretary to the government of the Federation has passed the buck over the refusal of ministers, ambassadors, and aides to the president to resign ahead of the governorship and presidential primaries of the All Progressives Congress, which commenced on May 25th. This is Secretary to the State Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, ought to have issued a circular stating a deadline on when appointees of the president should resign. Meanwhile, President Buhari has approved the commissioning of the ongoing construction of the Owerri Olu and Owerri Okigwe road upon completion next month. This was disclosed by Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma after a courtesy visit to the president at the presidential villa for a progress report on the ongoing road construction and projects in the state. Reports say the roads, which are federal roads, are currently being reconstructed with dual carriage for the Owerri Olu road and expand. Professor Yemi Osinbajo has commended the move by the International Criminal Court (ICC) to reform its system as part of efforts to mend relations with African countries. Osinbajo stated this when he received the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Karim Khan, who was on accused countries that there is room for negotiations and that the ICC is not just out to witch hunt any individual or organization. The Vice President stressed Niger Delta Affairs, Godswill Akpabio, has reiterated the commitment of the federal government to providing healthcare services to ameliorate the challenges faced by the Niger Delta people. Ndekwe Upai met the pledge at the inauguration and handing over a block of health center at Edem Ishiet in Ona local government area of Akwa Ibom State. He mentioned that rural residents of access necessary and appropriate health services must be available and obtainable in a timely manner. To politics now, where ahead of the 2023 general elections, Minister of Labor and Employment, Chris Ngige, has formally declared his intention to contest for the position of President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Ngige unveiled his presidential ambition before a crowd at St. Mary's Catholic Church, Alo, Idemili South, local government area of Anambra State. Addressing the crowd comprising AP administrator with huge wealth of experience, capacity, and energy, as well as the heart to accommodate the differences among Nigerians. And still on politics, President Muhammadu Buhari has met with governors of the All Progressives Congress (APC) over the forthcoming national convention of the party, slated for March 26. Speaking with State House correspondents at the end of the meeting, Chairman of the Progressives Governors Forum, who is also the governor of Kebbi State, Atiku Bagudu, said the governors had resolved to of the party and governor of Yobe State, Malabani. Away from that, a regional stakeholders workshop on the operationalization and institutionalization of the network of West African women in conflict prevention and mediation. FEMWISE West Africa has kick-started today in Lagos. The three-day workshop is expected to explore strategic advocacy tools, capacity building, and networking that will enable the implementation of the workshop. Will also review and validate relevant documents, including a draft statute that defines the mandate, function, and strategic engagement of FemWise West Africa, a draft standard operating procedures, and knowledge management framework, among others. Meanwhile, the workshop will afford FemWise West Africa steering committee members the opportunity the United Nations Security Council's resolution on women, peace and security, and the Global Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. Recall that in 2017, FemWise Africa was established by the African Union, AU, Assembly of Heads of State, within the context of the African Peace and Security Architecture, APSA, as a subsidiary mechanism of the Panel of WISE, to strengthen the role of women in conflict prevention and mediation, as well as peacemaking, post-conflict, reconstruction and development efforts, while encouraging the regional economic communities to establish SEM structure. To security now, where bandits have threatened to kill more people, especially women, if their demand. 2 residents and abducted 26 persons have threatened to cause more havoc if their demands are not met. Confirming the incident, Chief of Agwan Bulu's community, Gideon Gani, called security agents and the government to come to their rescue. Meanwhile, the State Police Command spokesman, Mohammed Jaglige, who confirmed the incident, said the police, speaking with Spectrum Television, the people called on the state government to fix the roads in order to make life easier for all citizens. Our correspondent has the report.
Waterways need to be evacuated to make way for waters to flow through. Unfortunately, a lot of drainages have been blocked, with people disposing sachet water nylons, PET bottles, and other materials that can't be decomposed into drainages, as well as erecting buildings on waterways. Since water has to find a passage, it eventually results in washing away roads and causing erosion on these roads. Although the Akwa Ibom State government would be hampered and others becoming immotorable, as half of the road have been washed off by erosion. Citizens who spoke with Spectrum Television decried the state of these roads and the effect it has had on them.
It was very deep, where people need to go down and swipe up and all those stuff. When it's dark like that, you get hoodlums hanging around, looting people's bag. And there was also a time where we had to get and turn around this other Hatian part. It was also very stressful.
They also
State. It is
This is a major road that links to about 2 to 3 communities. We have Nduetongoku. We have it's like this side of the state is being detached from the state actually.
Obviously, a lot needs to be done by the government to make this basic amenity accessible, as well as sensitization for the citizens to acknowledge the part they play in this crisis. Edidion Martin, reporting for Spectrum Television.
In Africa, 2 more combat helicopters and surveillance radars have arrived in Mali on a Russian cargo flight. The consignment brings it to 8 the known number of helicopters that Moscow has provided on the closer time. Similar deliveries are expected over the next 3 months. Meanwhile, the French army has officially handed over the keys of a Gauchy base in northern Mali to the Malian armed forces, a major step in the departure of a Bakan anti-jihadist force from the country. Still to come in the news, Eagles draw Sierra Leone, Guinea-Bissau, Sao Tome in African qualifiers. To stay with us. deadline to Ukrainian troops in Mariupol to surrender, but Ukraine has vowed to continue to defend the port city. Russian-backed fighters are reportedly trying to storm the Azovstal steelworks, where Ukrainian troops and civilians are factory. Still on the foreign scene, United States and allies have agreed to impose more sanctions on Moscow as Russia pushed ahead with its new offensive targeting eastern Ukraine in the latest phase of a bloody invasion. Russia's defense ministry has said high-precision air-based missiles has hit 13 Ukrainian positions in part of Donbass, while other airstrikes have hit 60 military assets. And Volodymyr Zelensky announced Russia had kicked off a widely anticipated offensive in Ukraine's industrial heartland to 3.4% in 2022. IMF disclosed this in its World Economic Outlook April 2022 report. Recall that in its January report, the Washington-based lender predicted a growth rate of 3.1% growth projection for the nation in 2023, down from 3.4% in 2022 and 3.6% in 2021. Still on our business news, a not-for-profit group, Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors, had called for concerted efforts to eliminate the gender gap in access to financial service in Nigeria. During a webinar organized by the Gender Center for Excellence on the front burner, the group said individuals and institutions were evolving and recognizing that biases, stereotyping and discrimination do not and have negative impact on overall operation with the Central Bank of Nigeria, enhancing financial innovation and access, Lagos Business School and Women's World Banking. And in health, National Vice President to escape life challenges. Yamale, who gave the advice during an interview with the newsman in Lagos, and urged people to always seek positive coping and adaptive mechanism than considering negative thought, like attempting suicide, for engaging in domestic violence when faced with challenges, occurred at one time and bad at the other times. And now in sport, Wimbledon has banned Russia and Belarusian players from the champion of the sport's top 40 stars shut out. Reports say Russian and Belarusian tennis players will be banned from playing at Wimbledon. Meanwhile, UK Sports Minister Nigel Huddleston said players have to be genuinely neutral and principi in Group A of the qualifiers for the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations. The 34th edition of the Biennial African Football Showpiece is scheduled to hold from June 23 to June stage of the qualifiers, scheduled to begin in June across the continent. On our entertainment news, Nollywood stars' friends, fans and kinsmen converge on Rita Dominique's country home for her traditional marriage rite, as the actress tied the knot traditionally with her Belle Fidelis Anosike. The traditional marriage was held at her late father's compound, the home of the traditional ruler of a community's follow group, owners of Daily Times and Miss Nigeria pageant. And still on our entertainment news, veteran filmmaker Adebayo Salami, also known as Oga Bello, and a good number of his colleagues are in high spirit as the Lagos state government has granted 37 of them 200 million interest-free loans. It is in fulfillment of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's promise to fund the creative industry, upon which he raised the community during the presentation of the checks to the 37 beneficiaries at the Glover Memorial Hall, Lagos. Said the initiative aims to address financial challenges that inhibit quality film production in Nigeria and Lagos. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social. I've been watching Spectrum News at 12. I am Rachel David White. Have a good afternoon.